So next I'm going to talk about electronegativity here. And electronegativity is just the tendency of an atom to attract electrons. And fluorine over here in the corner is the most electronegative. So as you move from left to right and as you move from bottom to top, you're just increasing electronegativity. Generally speaking, this isn't constantly true. Some of them are less electronegative and they break the pattern. But overall, you can count on that francium will be less electronegative than iron, and on and on and on. And this is just the tendency to want electrons. Fluorine is the one that is most desperate for electrons. So if we look at the factors that affect electronegativity, the first is shielding effect. And shielding effect asks the question, how many electrons are between your valence electrons and the nucleus? So if my nucleus is inside the circle right here, how many different subshells or levels are there between the outside and the inside? Because the more there are, the less attraction that nucleus is going to have to electrons, and therefore the less electronegative. So generally speaking, the bigger means the less electronegative. And then we talk about valence shell fullness. So on the outside here, how many electrons are there? How full is it to how close is it to having a full valence shell? So if we look at carbon versus fluorine versus lithium, we can see that fluorine is the one that's closest to having a full valence shell. It just needs one more electron over here in this spot. Whereas carbon would need 4 extra, and lithium would need a whopping 7 extra in order to get a full valence shell. So because fluorine is the closest, it's going to be the most electronegative. So the reason that fluorine is the most electronegative of any element is because it is simultaneously closest to having a full shell, and it is the smallest of all the other halogens. So if we look at the periodic table, pause the video really fast, try and figure out which of these is the most electronegative just based off of the pattern of who is closer to fluorine. Between oxygen and nitrogen, we have oxygen is more, carbon versus silicon, carbon is more, and gallium versus sodium, gallium is more electronegative.